Gonna bring meeting to order. I'm Don Berube, 135 River Road.
Adam Sandall, 9 Natewood Drive.
Carrie Mackinnon, Community Development Director.
Jeff Duke, 50 Brown Hill Road.
Ben Davis, 9 Wheeler Road.
Michael Otten, 3 Acer Drive.
Sandy Crystal, 1 Shoreview Drive.
Pete Daniel, Slingboard Road.
All right.
Can I just say our regular really great microphone is out of commission tonight, so we're using a not so great one. So if everyone can try to boost your voice and aim it towards this little guy.
All right. I'm going to do this a little out of order. We're going to do the public hearing for the application 501-25, Brian Stacy LLC, and Steve W. and Deborah A. Wheeler, minor subdivision approval application for a lot line adjustment between map 31, block 5, lot 21, and map 31, block 5, lot 23, located at 108 River Road and 14 Vaughn Road. Who do we got for that?
We're done.
We all voted. We got 7.
No, we got
Oh,
8. Yeah, I've got 8.
we got 8. Ben, you're up.
Okay.
Okay.
My name's Jacques Belanger. I'm the surveyor that prepared the application. You guys want paper copies or are you?
Yeah, we don't. I'm the.
They have
Okay, I got
small ones,
full
and I
size if
can
you want.
zoom into things on the screen
Alright.
if we need to. So.
Sure. What we're doing is really just a basic lot line adjustment between the Wheelers and Brian Stacy LLC. It's between River Road and River Road 3A and Vaughn Road. The Wheelers have a kind of an odd shaped lot. It cut around the other lot that Brian Stacy owns. Had a strip that went all the way out to River Road. So what we're doing is just basically putting that strip behind the Ryan Stacy lot, lot 21, adding it to that one and reconfiguring the Wheeler lot so it's a little bit more of a rectangular shape. It drops the Wheeler lot down to 2.41, including steep slopes that come out of the land. And we do need to get state subdivision approval. We've applied for that because we're dropping acreage on that lot. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward, just moving a lot line over and shifting it. The remaining tract will be 8.39 acres.
All right. So you're gonna get your garage off the neighbor's property.
Most of it.
Most of it.
It's really not very well defined out there, so that straightens that out too.
Any questions on board? This is a public hearing, so I'll open to the public. If
Do we
anybody.
have to accept
Oh.
that it's complete?
Oh. You're right. I'll put that motion.
Just gotta
Is that a motion?
I'll put a motion to accept application 501-25, Brian Stacy LLC, Stephen and Deborah Wheeler as complete.
Sandy.
Oh, vote.
A vote. All those in favor? Try to get out of here. Opposed? 3 ayes. Now I'm gonna open to the public. If anybody has any questions, comments? Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing. Is there anything we need to?
There's a couple of minor checklist items. Nothing.
Bundle first. North grid, arrow, impact note one.
Yes. I think the only one that really warrants discussion is the buffer strip. Do you have any concerns with adding the buffer strip as required?
What's the concern about the north arrow?
You have to have a magnetic and grid north.
We're on grid north and we didn't put the magnetic north on there as well. It just shows the second arrow.
I get to put that as a comment on most of the plans I review. Oh, I got them. Just 5 points that I'm checking. And then, so from Whitewater, there's a comment, I don't think it's that important right now, but he just noted that there isn't any sewer in the area, but there is water, and if there's any changes that would affect that, we need to look at
Okay,
those. in the
I think the
future, but-
Wheeler home is connected, and because of the snow, we started this with 3 inches of snow, then we get a lot of snow and frost. Here we are again, none, so we'll be content with that.
I think for the purposes of the lot line adjustment, that's more of thinking toward the future, whatever may come in the future. Anything else there as far as conditions? There's the state subdivision approval is outstanding. Addressing those checklist items we talked about, and then I had another little comment, just there's a where it said new lot line to be
Yeah.
abandoned. There's just a little
Yeah, the note that got carried over, yeah.
inconsistency there, so tidying that up. Yep. And you should also consider regional impact
I was
before we
gonna
vote.
make the motion, this does not have a regional impact.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The conditions are just the checklist items and the state subdivision approval, Karen.
And then the stamps and signatures and the conditions on the final plan.
So that last bit of mail.
Sorry. The stamps and signatures on the final plan and the conditions of approval listed on the final plan. And there were no waivers.
No. Just an all adjustment.
Make a motion to approve application 501-25 with the following conditions. The checklist items are included, which includes identifying the buffer strip, show magnetic north, I believe, and the impact fee note added, as well as getting state subdivision approval, stamps and signatures on the final plan, as well as the conditions of approval.
All those in favor?
Opposed? Findings of facts. Item.
It
Pretty
needs,
time for what?
Creating a new law.
I can give you a few ideas. One, it's clearing up an irregularly shaped lot that looks like it might have gone through a garage. So it's cleaning up that lot line. It meets all of the subdivision and zoning ordinance requirements.
So, the finding of facts are that it's not creating a new lot, it's cleaning up an irregular shaped lot, and it meets the subdivision and zoning ordinances.
Sounds great.
I'll second.
All those in favor of the findings of fact?
All right,
There you go. Thank you.
Easy.
Look at that.
Kind of crammed out, 10 minutes.
It was me fumbling over my accept as complete.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Used to be my 4th grade class, if you can believe it. Many years ago.
That's my favorite. Some people come.
Aw.
I know they want to get rid of the chalkboards. We can't.
Oh, chalkboard's good.
Can't. Yeah.
It's been used periodically.
Yeah, once in a while, I've seen you get,
It's not going anywhere.
all right. Moving right along. Amberbo Associates LLC, conceptual consultation, to discuss proposed modifications to site plan 20322, located at 75 Dow Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I know this is a conceptual presentation, but we did prepare a few things for you.
Oh. Oh, he was good.
Just about to get to it.
That's it.
My name's Ari Pollock. I'm with the law firm of Gallagher, Callahan, and Gartrell in Concord. And as you said, next to me is Peter Levine with Amber Properties. There's an old saying that if you can't tell your story quickly, you shouldn't tell it at all. I'm going to try to stick to those words tonight.
Good man.
In 2022, perhaps some of you were on the board then, Amber was approved to develop a site off Dow Road with 6 new industrial buildings. The 6 new buildings would be additional to 2 that existed. and the project was, or that existed, and the project was split into 3 phases, and the new portion to 3 phases. Phase 1, consisting of 2 buildings, has been built now and is occupied and open for business. Peter's now focused on bringing phase 2 online, for which he has a desirable national tenant lined up. You might recall that some of the conditions of approval related specifically to phase 2, and in particular, working with the town to propose an intersection mitigation package to DOT that they would find acceptable for the Dow Road, Route 3A intersections, the state road, state intersection. If I could, I'd like to just, and again, I'm mindful of my comments about being brief, but I'd like to just hand around essentially the plans that we've come up with, and then explain each of them for you.
So, you just want to go into Ginger, please.
There should be extras in the coming around, but I'll
Ben,
leave them all out except mine.
you're done. Can you send one over to Ginger, please?
And like I said, this is a conceptual meeting tonight, so we'll get more formal as we move along. Everybody have one?
Yep.
Super. What I've handed out is a 3-sheet plan set, which has 3 different or competing mitigation options for the intersection. Each of them has a letter on the top right corner. That's how I'll refer to them. The plan A, if you will, it's the most straightforward, it's the most affordable, it's the smallest impact. It requires very minimal new right-of-way beyond what the state owns on 3A and what the town owns on Dow Road. And frankly, we thought we'd nailed it, and we reviewed the plan with DOT, and they said no dice. And so they basically said that it would be insufficient to address some existing deficiencies. It would be insufficient to address anticipated traffic from the project and, future growth around the area generally. And back to the drawing board, they sent us, they never formally ruled on that application. It's still pending in their system. If you were to ask them what its status is, it would simply say under technical review, but they've told us that they don't like it.
And I would just interject, I'm sorry. It was part of a driveway permit application that was filed with the state, and this was the exhibit A.
Correct. For those of you who are familiar, DOT, believe it or not, for all of the process that they bring forward, they still have a 1-page application form. And so the town actually had to file that because the town was the applicant looking to address an intersection between the town and the state road. This A was the plan that went with that 1-pager. They put it through their process and said, no, we don't like it. We don't love it, at least. So they directed us to try again, and Plan B was conceived. Again, using our team of consultants, our experts, working in coordination with the town planner, the public works director, and we came up with this Plan B that involves a deceleration lane off of Route 3A and some widened approaches at the intersection. And again, we sent it off to DOT, and they said, you're getting closer, but we still don't love it. And specifically, what they said was, we'd like you to widen the stretch of Route 3A sufficiently to put in a southbound left turn lane as well as intersection widening. And while it's not exactly what they were describing, Plan C essentially shows what they were at least discussing with us. Again, the application would still reflect Plan A, but we moved from A to B to C. The problem with C, and you might be picking up on it already, is that it requires significant new right-of-way. It's wider than the road is today. And the state only owns so many feet of right-of-way, and when you need more, you have to acquire it. And the state was very clear with us that they had no public project at this intersection. They had no desire to exercise eminent domain if it was necessary, if negotiations with landowners couldn't be successful. And by the way, they had no money for us. So we don't like A, we don't like B. We like something like C, but we're not going to help, we're not going to pay, and we're not going to condemn. Thanks a lot.
And just to interject, sorry, C involved 1,300 feet of pavement, taking a lot of land, a price tag well in excess. Forget about moving, getting easements if that was ever to be, and moving poles.
Just
Was
building.
well in excess of $2.5 million. So, and they weren't putting up anything, and I would go home.
Just-
I don't have that money.
I do got one question about C.
Sure.
I see it shows a driveway going to the house lot there, like which the other ones didn't. How did that?
I think it's just a statement that with this width of right-of-way, it would need to be rebuilt.
Okay, because they,
There's a
that,
driveway there
because,
today.
well, there isn't, really.
But,
He does- that property-
yeah, but,
I'm just kind of curious how, if that was the state that wanted that there, or
No, no,
or that's just something you put in.
yeah,
I mean, they do drive through there, which is, I've been watching it since it was built, and it's,
it's not a state, I wouldn't read the plan to be specific about that. It was
Okay.
just a recognition that
that's just kind of.
resident needs to get in and out of there somehow.
Yeah.
And, you know, and frankly, I think those kinds of details we could all be flexible about. The problem was, of course, quadrupling the price tag
Yeah.
from A to B to C with no help from the state about how to build all of this. And so when
and a major disruption, and one that I would not even begin to consider.
so
And I was clear of that.
DOT, however, as we sit here today, they formally have A in front of them, but they've told us that they're open to B. And what they would like to see, and again, this is conceptual tonight, but what they would like to see is an expression from the town that the town feels that B would be adequate to move the intersection in the right direction, to accommodate and recognize this project, to get phase 2 launched and into the ground. We've talked with Steve Pernaugh, our traffic engineer. Plan B has some significant benefits. It provides the deceleration lane for southbound vehicles turning into Dow Road. Why is that a good thing? It gets them out of the traffic flow so that folks that are going straight can continue unimpeded, which means not only can those cars go through without a delay, but folks that are stacking up there to take a left don't have to deal with deceleration of as many vehicles or traffic stacking of as many vehicles. There's a free right, there's a straight, and then the left has less to compete with. I think we were talking about adding a stop bar on Dow Road. I have to assume there's a stop sign there.
No, there's a stop sign, but not a stop bar, and the reason the intersection doesn't really allow it, to put a bar where it would be appropriate.
What you may have been getting at with your question about the driveways is there's a significant amount of drainage in Townman out there. The whole place floods.
Yeah.
This proposal,
No, Plan B
B.
would address
Right.
the drainage. So there's other elements to it. Plan B would address the drainage issues at that intersection. And also by putting the decel lane, it puts a little more focus on the intersection there. Right now, you're basically up at the intersection, you know, I mean, there's one sign on the road, but so it would help delineate things, it would help sight lines. There are many benefits, and not to steal Ari's thunder,
Too late.
the last comment from the traffic engineer, and I'll read it to you. It's in the materials that were provided. When considering overall safety and protection of the traveling public, it is my professional opinion that Steve Pernaugh, who does this for a living, that the post-development conditions with this approval is far superior to the no build case. Basically saying is existing conditions without development. So he's saying this is it's not a perfect, it's not a left-hand turn lane, it's not a $2 million upgrade, it's not all the aggravation and the likelihood that we couldn't get it done anyway. This involves, just what Ari said, and I'll just end it by saying and we look forward to talking to the other stakeholders, meaning the property owners. We don't want to do that until we get an understanding here. But the reality is, it's 700 square feet to make this work. If it didn't, we couldn't get it. It would still allow us to do this, but engineering wise, it's 700 feet from one homeowner, 1,100 feet from another, and 300 from a third. So it's a limited amount. I'm prepared to deal with those stakeholders if they're reasonable. We could engineer this not to touch that, but this is a significant upgrade on the intersection.
How much, do you have a sense of how much this will cost be?
You know, everything. You know, any contract you sign today is, the price is determined when you take delivery. I'm not trying to be a wise guy, it'd be about 400 plus or minus, $400,000.
So that's basically it.
So this B plan though,
Yeah.
doesn't change lane width at all on Dow.
It does,
No. It
Dow,
widens.
it does not. It
It
just widens
widens
out the
it.
intersection.
If you see, it doesn't change, but it widens out the intersection, but it doesn't add
It doesn't
another
have
lane.
more lane,
It does not,
No.
but it does, it improves the traffic that is going
Yes, you
south.
widen out 3A.
Okay, and it improves certainly the traffic coming off the decel lane. And the added benefit, I'm sorry, you know, I know we shouldn't be talking, or I shouldn't be talking so much, but by doing this, it also improves, and this is very important, with the turning radiuses for the left-hand turn off of 3A onto Dow Road, with what is proposed here with the decel lane, it actually improves the radii of trucks going from 3A onto Dow Road. So it's really it is what it,
And it definitely opens up the sight line.
exactly.
Is right now, that's one of the issues is everyone creeps up because they don't have a good
Right,
sight
yeah,
line.
That's
So,
exactly, and that's why putting in a stop bar is just for that reason, is a plus.
So this was conceptual. This really was, look, we haven't been here for over 2 years. You probably were wondering what was going on anyway. Now you know the rest of the story and the sort of the impasse.
I've been hearing pieces of it on the Business Development Commission.
Well, you're,
It's a topic quite, at most months.
now you're
we
armed
touch
and
on it.
dangerous to give the next update. And you know, that we need help bridging this impasse with the state. And you might say, well, how come you haven't talked to the abutters, or how come you haven't, you know, made this plan more public? The reason is we don't know what we're asking for yet. DOT is a moving target. They don't like A, they're not thrilled about B, they won't pay for C. So we're still trying to land on something that's workable for everyone involved. And then there's no secrets. We'll go out and share the news and ask for help. And we'll get what we get, and we'll try to make what we get work. But we don't have anything to ask for yet because DOT's basically said, no, 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 no.
But we're
Carrie's been up to meetings with
sort
us.
of hopeful, and with Ari's input and all the other, I won't say pressure, but focus we've tried to put on DOT, that, you know, they can't get that, you know, I'll go home before they do the 2 million, because it doesn't make sense. So this is very plausible and will really upgrade the intersection. And we believe we can get reasonable heads at the DOT. And we've had many meetings, I can assure you. But I'm hopeful that Ari would be able to close the deal on B if the town is in agreement.
Depends whether you let me present it or not.
I'm gonna go there with duct tape.
Should've brought it to that. So anyway, the intention was to keep brief. My buddy and I did our best.
Yep.
That's really the whole story.
view is like C is obviously in a perfect world, there's no option, but I also understand if it's 5x the cost and much, much, much more complex in terms of putting stuff right on people's doorsteps. I personally would be fine supporting B. Certainly, it is a vast improvement over what exists now.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed that you're the select board rep, and of course, don't speak for the whole board.
Yep.
There's one more piece of it which we will want to visit the select board about. Nope.
No.
Believe it or
That comes
actually,
next.
I mean, we know you have a TIF district. We would appreciate whatever support could come from that. Yes, that will have to happen at some point. But what I'm getting at is DOT is worried that if they were to permit option B or plan B, it wouldn't be long before the town started to complain that that upgrade is not working well. And so what they're looking for, and I don't even know how you do this, frankly, but what they're looking for is some sort of acknowledgement from the legislative body of the town, the select board, that this board understands that we're not doing something as extravagant as C. B is an improvement. It's not perfect. It's not everything. And that the town understands that the state is not going to be standing around with its checkbook waiting to spend more. I don't know how you do that. I don't know what would be binding about it even if you did, but they, I think, want some acknowledgement that we're not building C and everyone knows it.
And the town isn't gonna go, after we do this, and the town's not gonna go, and, you know, it's a limited district, we're talking about. So it's not like there's gonna be a lot more anyway. They don't want the town to come back and say, you know, try to get that left-hand turn lane built.
I mean,
I don't know how it'd ever be binding, because the board can obviously change
Right.
two-fifths at a time.
You overrule it the next one.
But certainly from where, as a
you know, but they've been talking about, I mean, when I first came to Bow 38 years ago, there was talk about widening 3A. You know, the whole, you know, so,
Yeah.
I don't see that. I mean, I think what you're talking about here would work. I kind of like I like the idea of having 2 lanes coming off Dow personally.
They would not even,
They
They
didn't
were
like
very-
that at all.
that was one clear.
I would applaud your efforts if you wanted to try, but what they told us specifically was, A is what's in front of us right now, and if we were asked to rule on A, you would be denied. The town's application would be denied.
Yeah.
No,
And that's why I asked, I mean, this little strip of gray, is that actually showing what would get wider a little bit, so there'll be a little bit more?
You're talking about on A, well.
Oh, no, on
on
B,
B.
Oh, on B,
Yeah.
yeah.
on B, this.
Yeah, so that would actually improve.
that's the
You're
pavement.
gonna get a
That's
little
a
half
half-
turn.
Right,
That's the
exactly.
pavement, crazy.
I mean, the other thing I'm kind of curious, which I watched happen on Tallwood Drive, has 1 lane coming out on 3A, but it leaves in 2 lanes. And I don't know if that, you know, I mean, the white line, the right turning lane there, 'cause on the other side is, I guess would be the breakdown lane of it, but that's what the traffic does. And I'm just wondering if that would create that room, probably.
Well, it will be creating some width at the intersection, for sure, on that down road side.
I mean, I think you're gonna have people that try to do that anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Even though there's
I
not.
think
a
they
lane
try to
there.
do that now
They get-
sometimes.
They do. 'Cause if you're trying to turn
Yeah.
left coming out of Dow, I've seen people
And-
try to come around.
And I know the
drive
neighbor
over.
that's here in the barn that's older than 3A, I think, that they turned into a garage, that they obviously exit onto 3A. I mean, and it's dangerous, like they have no driveway permit there. That's why I was kind of curious about that, because it's wrong. My wife almost got hit there one day with some, and it's kind of,
And let me just say this, in our discussion with the state, they mentioned that too.
I mean, I watched them clean the
They wouldn't
drainage
give
out.
us the ability to improve that even more, because they were so fixated on the left turn lane, but they know about that.
So Plan B,
Yeah.
just to be clear, Plan B stays out of that area because we can.
Yeah.
And if the state wants to do something about it, that's wonderful, but we've got enough.
Yeah, that's not your.
And
problem.
they
The neighbor's
showed-
not your problem. I mean, which I understand. I was just kind of curious watching it, 'cause
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're here to refresh your memory. Come back next month with a properly noticed, application to amend a prior approval. Prior approval, of course, none of this has anything to do with what was approved on site. It's all an off-site improvement relating to the development. And what we're looking to do is generate the paperwork we need to show DOT that the town has seen the options, is comfortable with and if we compare it with something from the select board that says, yeah, we get it, nothing's set in stone, we won't complain tomorrow. I feel like we'll be able to get DOT to help us move the project forward.
Which would mean withdrawing the current application, which they said they're gonna deny anyway, and refile.
I mean, so I like the having that turn lane, I think would be sufficient. I don't know if anybody else on the board has.
I agree, it's an improvement. I mean, even if any further development was done, something needs to be done with that intersection as it is anyways.
I just got a quick, so I think I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys had Steve look at this.
Yes.
And what he said was that Plan B is a better option than Plan A from a traffic perspective, and that Plan B represents an improvement in traffic flow over the no build condition, which is like with you not building
Anything more,
anything
just
more.
because he referenced existing conditions. So existing condition is the two new buildings. He said, again, is far superior.
You said that in a confusing way, so let me just clarify. The existing condition, as Peter said, it includes the two new buildings that were part of phase one.
Right, yeah.
What's there right now today, this minute.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Will you be proposing any changes to the conditions of approval from the original approval?
I don't know that we need to. I think what we're looking for is just some sort of a resolution or motion that the board understands that we're working now on phase two and endorses Plan B as a reasonable traffic mitigation concept.
I mean, could we ask, I mean, I understand that it's an improvement over the no build condition, but I mean, it would be great if Steve could say that with the expected traffic flow through even like phase three, because this has gotta be, like, I assume that once we get beyond phase two, that I don't think that our conditions talked about what happens for.
So that is what he's saying. What he's saying is the post-development condition with this improvement is better, with the development, is better than today's conditions.
He said what he wanted.
He said what you're asking for.
Yeah. So all the way through phase three?
Yes, post-development.
Okay.
And you've got his
Yeah,
letter
I
in
mean,
your
if
packet.
anything's gonna be
Better.
better, whether through phase two and phase three is gonna be better than now.
You've got his letter if you want.
Yeah, I looked through. I didn't understand it. Now I understand it a lot better now that I see the plan.
I tried to include some background materials in the packet to refresh everyone's memory. So I put in a few, not the whole thing, but there was a very lengthy traffic impact assessment from the original application. I included basically a couple of key pages, the mitigation
I
recommendations,
flipped through the 160
findings.
pages.
and then
Know those.
and then the planning board required a third-party review of that study as well. And so I included the third-party review. And then there was also, and Steve Perna did a he did an update memo as well in 2024. So I included that as well. And then I included the minutes from the 3 meetings in 2022 where it was considered. So try to look at those tonight, or maybe spend some time before the full application comes in to refresh all of your memories on that.
And let me interrupt one more time, last time. just to give you an idea about the project, that's important too. You know, it's in, the buildings are in, great demand. I've got, of the two buildings that are built already, there's 3 tenants. So there's two 20,000 square foot tenants and one, and they're in one building and the other building is 26,000 square feet. They're all tenants, that, I brought here from Concord, to be quite honest with you. And, and the demand for the other buildings, as Ari said, for phase two, one of the buildings for phase two, I already have a signed lease from a national tenant, and I'm talking to a national tenant about another one of the buildings. So the buildings are in great demand. You know, I couldn't be happier with the project and the prospects. In the existing 4 buildings, just to give you, not to bore you with too many details, but in the existing 4 buildings, I just signed, well, they were in there, but they just signed a new, Cintas took a 12,000 square foot building. They had a smaller space. They expanded. They signed a 10-year lease. Another tenant from Concord signed a 7-year lease for one of the original buildings. So the project is in great demand, and I think the other 4 buildings, when it's all
You
said
still
and
have your
done.
silt fence, tenant?
Excuse me?
You still have your silt fence?
No, they moved, you know what, and let me just say, they were, I nurtured them when they were really small, and they've outgrown the space, and they moved out.
To Bow, they're still in Bow.
They're still in Bow, but yeah. So, no, the project's been great.
We'll come back and see it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, consideration.
Good night.
Yep, you get 2 minutes.
They're in 6 minutes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I would just encourage everyone to spend some time looking through the materials before the next meeting. Make note of, you know, in the recommendations, the reason why DOT is asking for the left turn lane. It's warranted already. Before he built the first 2 buildings, it was already warranted. And he's tripling the left turns that are going in there. So that is why DOT is looking for some sort of some acknowledgement from the town saying, yes, this needs a left turn lane, but we're not going to do it. So that's
Yeah, unless, because the state's not saying they want to kick in money and help us out.
there's no money.
I think,
The whole road.
Yeah.
I alluded to this when they were here, but I think we need Steve to comment on whatever the
Well,
final
Steve's working
proposal.
for them.
Yeah, I know. But I trust Steve probably more than our guy. I mean, he should look at it too. But, you know, he's the guy. He's the traffic guy. Like, if you,
I guess, you know, one of my, you know, 3A being the state road. You know, for the, you know, yes, because traffic's already bad. I mean, to try to put it on one guy coming in and just attack, you know,
Yeah.
if the state was, you know, this needs to be done and, you know, looking at a portion of it, I would be saying, yeah, I think, you know, we have some TIF money going there, we're gonna, developers gonna go in there and we, you know, make a nice road, but.
I just want to know that this is safe, you know, which I'm sure that it is. He's going to say that he already wrote in this thing that this is an improvement over the no build condition.
I think
Like,
it's definitely a compromise solution.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why,
I mean-
because it's different than what was proposed. And so, you know, I think like a 1-pager, just like, this is going to work and it's safe.
I think I actually have that, and I didn't include it in the packet, but I will for next time.
Where it is, it, you know, how well it works is one, is, you know, questionable. But it's a nice straight road, and as far as, the, you know, the safety side, it's not like just a curve.
Yeah.
A hill, you know, there's plenty of sight and plenty, you know.
The sight distance will be much improved with the construction.
Probably give the required line of sight that
Okay.
should be there now, that is not, definitely not there.
Yeah, if you want it to be in, we can
I
add
think
it.
we'll just leave that in.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I guess, one of the questions I had was on 230 was, Selectman McFadden, question talks about noted that precedent in Americans usually
Very
follow.
philosophical.
That is what you said.
I
I
did
know, you did actually say it. I know. I questioned taking that out too, and I was like, I don't know.
The thing is that this isn't a transcript.
It's
No,
not.
it's,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I used the words planning board 2006 did wrong, but that was my intention to say it. Like, I don't need to
Yeah.
change that.
Yeah.
Just in line 241, where it said that building a house there would have a large area of potential source of contaminants. I just would create potential sources of contaminants.
You got that, Ginger?
When the real estate agent introduced himself as representing the property, didn't he say something like he said problem selling it, or I know that that sort of said that
uphill
elsewhere.
battle.
Uphill battle.
Yeah, do we want to
Yeah.
include that?
We were aware it was gonna be an uphill battle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we include that?
Yeah.
Alright.
I
We
think,
should.
yeah.
Line 382, maybe have to go. We may have to go back and actually listen to it, but he said we were aware this would be an uphill battle or something to that regard.
Yeah, we'll go back and listen, get the wording right, but that's how I remember it also.
Okay.
And it's just for 391, toward the end of the line where it says, also say that it would be comparing, and you can just take out in terms of, to be comparing the types of impacts. Actually, I think you should say different types of impact. Talk about wetland impact versus buffer impact.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You missed a fun one.
Yeah, I know. That wasn't good. I watched it.
Did you?
Wait, really?
The nicest guy. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, just little stuff. I put in save the date for the New Hampshire Planning and Zoning Spring Conference. It is a full day on Zoom, full Saturday on Zoom. If anyone's interested in having a fun time. But in reality, there are some good educational sessions, and you can sign up and go to parts of it or get the recordings afterwards. But I don't know if I can do it 8:45 to 3:30 on a Saturday.
This is the one that used to be at Proponent, right?
I think so, yeah. It's been on Zoom since
Since
never
COVID.
since COVID. They just
COVID.
keep doing it on Zoom,
Yeah, I need, no, Zoom.
especially on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's true.
I've done it before. Like, I think I did it when I first came into however many years ago that was.
Yeah.
It's just brutal because they don't break it up at all.
Mhm.
They just think you're just gonna keep. They give you like a 5-minute break and then they just keep going. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're selling it well,
Yeah.
I do.
Sorry, I wish I could sell it better.
I do recommend signing up, and you'll get the recordings, and you can watch pieces that are relevant. I think there's a lot of good information, especially for newer members. But I don't recommend sitting there all day. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I'm sure you've all heard by now, but all of the zoning amendments passed at town meeting. So time to start getting ready for next year. But in the meantime, we really need to dig into the subdivision and site plan regulations. I don't know if we want to schedule a special workshop to get through those. I know the meetings ebb and flow. Tonight would have been a great night to throw some in, but wasn't ready. The April meeting is pretty full. We got a lot of applications yesterday and today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. quite a stack. So I don't know if we want to try to schedule a special workshop so we can set aside the time to actually get those done. Or do you want me to just keep picking away at it and bring it to you when they're...
Well, what, do you wanna start with one more than the other? Well, subdivision, I like, so that we can get the purpose in there and.
Yeah, there's some other issues in there have come up lately, things that that contradict state laws at this point, so that's causing problems.
Do we wanna do like the 1st of May, that first Thursday in May?
We could try that. So, that's May 1st.
Yep.
School vacation.
Oh, it is school vacation. That's actually gonna be hard for me too.
Yeah.
An offsite? Should we do an offsite?
And then our regular meeting's the 15th, I think.
Yes. Are we up for 2 weeks in a row to do the 8th and the 15th? Is that too much?
What date, depending on how many applications.
Do
What dates you can have?
May 8th?
Yeah, 15th is my regular meeting.
Right.
Or we could do it sometime.
I know I would rather do the May 8th than, the June 5th.
Yeah, that's pushing it out pretty far.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll try May 8th.
May 8th.
Right, that gives me some time to get a bunch of stuff ready for it. And then I'll just announce that we were just, an appeal was submitted to the Housing Appeals Board for the Wetzel Family Trust property.
So what are the next steps for that?
So the town, we have to collect the certified records, so we'll put together all, like, every material that was submitted, all of the approved minutes, package it all up into a document and send it up, and then I believe they'll schedule us a hearing, or we'll be asked to have a settlement meeting to try to figure it out with them outside of the room, but the town's attorney will take it on. Yeah. That'll be our first time at the Housing Appeals Board instead of court, so.
Oh,
Before we close the.
yeah. Did you just come to watch the show, or
Yeah.
did you have anything to say? Or?
No, I heard that there were openings on the planning board and zoning board, so I was recommended to come to a meeting and see what it's all about. So
Can you introduce yourself?
I didn't mean to be so
No
awkwardly
problem.
sitting here. You're like, when is she gonna go?
Can you just give your name and address?
I'm at 4 Hopkill Road.
Yeah.
We're much cooler than the zoning board. You should come hang with us.
Are you related to Steve?
Yeah, that's my dad.
I was gonna say,
I've been
do the
spending
maple,
some time with him lately.
do you guys have the maple sugar?
Oh, no, my neighbor does.
The neighbor, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was the other announcement I wanted to make. Thank you. Great job. There was $12,000 in the 25-26 budget to get the master plan process rolling. So starting July 1st, we will have funding available to start the master plan. The last plan was 2017, so it should be a 2027 plan, but gotta get started now. I'm actually meeting with the director of the Regional Planning Commission tomorrow morning to just figure out how we get it started.
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah.
Who is the director now?
Mike Tardif.
Oh, did he retire?
Well, he might have. He's still there.
Okay, just somebody told me that he retired and, okay.
He's still there. Still strong, as far as I know.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Hi.
So, thanks for, I hope you